Hi guys, it's Kelly Latavola here and I am back with another video. Today we are going to be using some products from Ink Blot Shop. Specifically, this new stamp set. Well, it's not that new. It's new to me. It's called Get Grounded and I am totally in love with it. So you guys hear me talk about all the time like doing cards and coming up with my layouts and scenes and stuff that you want to ground your images. And Tiffany, who's a friend of mine, who's also the owner and illustrator for Ink Blot Shop, came up with this idea to create this set called Get Grounded. I'm using a lot of other sets from her, Simple Sentiments, Smarty Pants, the other one's called A Little Something, Ahoy. But anyway, they're all featuring this Get Grounded stamp set. And so I'm stamping in Gina K because we're going to be doing Copic Coloring. I'm going to stamp them out. I actually did 4 cards. So let me just start there because I'm kind of a little bit all over the place. I actually did 4 cards and I intended on putting them all in one video and then kind of going from like a really simple scene to a, I guess, beginner, intermediate, then intermediate, and then more of like expert level. And none of them are, I guess, particularly hard. They just look more complex and involve a little bit more coloring. So for this one here, I stamped out one of the images from the Smarty Pants set along with a little sign. I did mask her little shoes, and then I'm going to stamp the like tile floor around them. So I purchased this set, and then I was talking to Tiffany about it, and she was like, did you know you were actually the inspiration for this stamp set? And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you totally were, because I watch your videos and you talk about grounding your images. And I really struggled with doing that. And so I thought maybe other people might struggle with it too. So I created this stamp set for people who, don't know how to draw it like you do. Which is awesome. And I think it's such a good way to get people into scene making because it's so fun. It's just a fun way to do your cards. So here, both these images are from the Ahoy stamp set, and then I'm going to use the sand here, and you can see I masked the little boy. I'm also going to stamp some clouds. These are from that same Get Grounded set. I think I used all of them except for the puddle. I think it's the only one that I didn't use as far as the ground coverage is concerned. So I did mask him. You may notice on my first stamp set, I stamped up the tile a little bit higher than I intended, and I stamped over just the very bottom of her jacket. Now I have a trick for how I'm going to fix that later. For my little mermaid here, I'm going straight Arial, drawing her on a little rock. So I just pencil sketched in a little rock behind her, and then I'm going to use Copic Safe pen to outline that. For me, that's EK Success. This one is just this little girl. All the sizes from the Little Something set are great. Like, they're definitely big enough to carry a card. And so I'm using the grass with her. And like I said, I did 4 cards. And I decided that the 4th card, which is this one you see here with the knight and the dragon and the castle, that I'm going to do that in a separate video. So that one will be coming either later this week or next week. But so just starting here with the Copic Coloring, this is by far the simplest scene. The only masking you really needed to do was the feet or the coat if you want to stamp it up as high as I did. And then I'm just going to go through and color them. If you've been here before, you guys know that I go lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. I am coloring her little jacket white. And when you're doing white objects, you just want to put in where the shadows are. So where the lapels of her coat are coming down, that would be darker. Anytime an object sits on top of another object, shadows. Anytime 2 objects meet, so where her coat closes over, that's going to be shadows there underneath her pocket, things like that. But because it is white, I still do want to leave white in it. And then for the sign on the wall, that's actually where I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm doing just a little bit of shading, same thing, just leaving it white. I don't know about you, but like going into doctor's offices and things like that, they always have like, posters and signs and things on the walls. So I thought that would be a good way to kind of incorporate my sentiment into my little scene here, and then just blend those back out. I tried really hard to use the same markers, the same marker colors in each one of these. First of all, because I have a real problem with things being matchy-matchy. I don't like incorporating cards in the same photo together that don't match. I know that that's a me thing. For the shading on the tile, pretty much just going to leave that white, using those same gray colors to, just add some shading. I'm adding the darkest shading into the back of the room, lightest shading more towards the front of it. The darkest gray, which is a C5, I'm only really going to put into the back. I'm not even going to carry the lines all the way up. I'm just going to kind of flick them forward, and then where her shadow is, where she is standing. So I thought it was really cool that she was kind of inspired by just listening to, my videos and the way that I talk about scene building to build this stamp set. And I know a lot of times you guys will leave comments like, oh, I don't think I can do that, which you totally can, by the way. But in the interim, if you would still like to make scene cards, this stamp set is a great way to go. Plus, like, the rest of her stuff is totally adorable. I love Tiffany's stamps, and I wish I got to use them more, but you know how it is. Like, sometimes things like have to be used versus need to be used because of the design teams and things like that. And not that I shouldn't say have to use. Like, I have a video due for a specific company because none of the companies I work for determine what stamp sets I use, which is one of the reasons why I work for them. I have a very hard time being inspired by products that I would not have picked. So anyway, for her hair, I opted for some warmer browns. The reason I went warmer browns is because I knew when I did the mermaid that I wanted to do some glazing, and I wanted the browns to be compatible with the idea I had in my head. Somebody had asked me, how do you decide what you put in the background? And I'm not really sure how to explain. I guess I don't know, when I see stamps, like, most of the time I see a scene in my head. And I have actually used a Smarty Pants set before. There's another video where I turned it into, I did a series, a 1, 2, 3, of beginning, like beginner, intermediate, and then, I hate using the word expert because that makes it sound like I think I'm an expert, and I don't. I still have so much more to learn. But I guess, easy, medium, hard kind of things. But the stamp set's adorable. So doing her skin tone, really just adding shading where her hair is hanging over her face. She doesn't really have anything else to color. I gave her little brown shoes, and then I'm going to use those same browns, minus the lightest color, for the frame on my picture sentiment here. And then I'm just going to add shading kind of from around the corners, leaving the highlights in the center. So look, when I see stamp sets, I just kind of picture in my head like what that would look like, or what I would like to do. If I'm in the mood to do a scene and one isn't coming to me, I go a lot to Pinterest or Google and look at images. So if I want to do a card like this one, like a get well card with a doctor's office, like I might look at pictures of different doctor's offices. I might, Google hospitals, or, home decor, something like that, where I can go and look at different images. A lot of times when I do them with like drinks or coffee cups, I will go into Pinterest and just type in, like white coffee cup, and see what comes up. You never know where you're going to find inspiration. You never know where like those things might kind of pop out at you. So I don't know how to explain like how I come up with the idea for the cards, or how to help you fill in the background. But if you have an idea, or you're kind of stuck and you know that you want to try a scene, maybe try doing that and see if that works for you. I know a lot of people look at like home decor magazines that they still subscribe to, or different advertising that they've seen here for the background, because I didn't just want it to be all this white. There's a lot of white. and blue's my boyfriend. Blue's a great neutral for me. I'm using my darkest blue to outline my images to kind of make them pop. And then I'm going to blend out with a mid-tone. This is a B00. And I'm just going to go right over that B02 just to blend them together, you know, a little bit up from the floor and around the picture. And then lastly, I'm going to kind of fill in the rest of it to fade into white with a B00. And right now it looks a little, it looks a little splotchy, not smooth. But part of that has to do with because it's still wet. So you know that I like to outline all of my images, so I did all of that. And then I added just a fun little kind of like lacy detail at the bottom of her dress because it's cute, and also to mask my stamping boo-boo where I stamped the floor over the top of her dress. And then I added that to the top of her dress as well. Moving on to the next one. This is the Mermaid Card. I filled in the sand with my lightest brown, then went out to my mid-tone, and just, you know, continued on back to the darkest color. Same thing that I did with the first one, but I added much less dark. I wanted it to be, you know, more of that traditional color of sand. Once I got them kind of like blended out where I wanted, I went back with those markers and did some dots. This will help the transition into white that's kind of going on there. But you could totally fill this whole thing in. In fact, I think at the end of it, I might end up filling the whole thing in because I filled in all of the water. All of my backgrounds today are done with just Copic markers, but you could certainly mask these characters and use Distress Inks, Distress Oxides, any other inks that you really like blending with. That would totally work. Doing her hair, the same colors as the other one except for like the lightest color, because I know that I'm going to cover that up. Color glazing is basically putting one color on top. Oh, I did use the lightest color. That was pointless. But it's basically putting one color on top of another color to change its hue. So here I wanted that, you know, very aerial feel, but I didn't want to lose any of the shading, and I didn't want to have to incorporate a bunch of other reds that I wasn't going to use. So what I did was just put it right on top of the brown. Still has shading, still has some dimension. I used the darkest brown color for his hair, and that's it. I didn't do any other shading. I'm going to make his hat and his shirt white. So again, adding those, you know, shadows with my gray markers. And I know when we first start, it looks super funny because it's so gray. But obviously, as we add more colors into the background and that color contrast is there, and it's not just white with gray, you'll see that those images really start to do, you know, really start to look white. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else has been going on in my life. Oh, you know what I want to clarify, because it's been a hot minute. Been a couple of days since I put out the Charlie video, and I just wanted to clarify, we never brought him home. The day that we went down there, he was not ready. That was just kind of like a meet and greet, see if him and Molly got along, you know, see how I felt about it and how Nathan felt about it. And so I had the weekend to decide if I was going to bring him home or not, and then go back down there on Sunday. So it ended up they had an event on Sunday, and so when she did get back to me, she told me after I said I wanted him, I was going to come back down and get him on Sunday. They ended up being at an event, so it didn't work out for me to come down there and get him. And then they took him to like a family cookout barbecue type thing, and it turns out that he just really was not listening well with, I guess, with playing with younger kids. You know, what they were telling him he wasn't listening to, and then they thought maybe that he would do better in a home with older kids. So he never came here. He's, as far as I know, still with his foster, if he hasn't found a forever home. Quickly, back to the card. Here, I'm just doing like streaks of color for my water. The only thing that I will tell you, it doesn't really matter where you put the streaks. It's just for color variation, but make sure you are putting them right up next to your images, because otherwise it will look strange. Your water should look like it's a continuation of the color that's next to it. So you need to make sure that it goes right up against your images. And then I'm going to go back in with the lightest color and just blend them all back together so that it looks like a natural transition. I'm going to use the same blues that I used on the last card for the sky here. I'm going to use the two lightest, the B00 and the B000, and, just pick different areas. I kept it a little bit darker, more toward the horizon line, and then around the clouds, and then blend it out with the lighter color. I'm not really going to do anything else to the clouds outside of just the little bit of, shading shadows that I did that were already there, and then, blend that out with that B000. So yeah, Charlie never came home with us, and then I did speak to her afterwards, and she said, we really loved you and would love to find your forever puppy, and they do have a new litter of puppies as well as some little bit older ones and Marlin, who we did not get to meet. So I'm hoping that I think she said mid to late August they would have their shots and would be ready to meet people. So I'm hoping to be able to get down there to meet one of them and see if maybe they or the family member to kind of complete our little home. So that's what's going on with that. I realized there was a little bit of confusion on that particular video. People were asking, like, but did you take him back? What'd you do with him? But I never brought him home. So yeah, there's that. We're getting ready for vacation, which I'm super excited about. Me and my sister and Eric and Peanut are gonna go beach vacation it for a little while. So that's super exciting because of just the way that my 2018 went. I didn't really have a vacation. I had a weekend with the girls, and that was amazing. And actually I was hoping to do that again this year, and just with all of the things that we have going on in all of our different lives, it didn't end up happening. But, maybe next year. But this year I'll be super excited to, be able to take Peanut to the beach for a little while. I was hoping my mom would be able to come, but that's just not feasible at this point. I think we've talked about this before, that she takes care of my grandmother. So right now that's just not something that's in the cards for her. So yeah. Recently on my Instagram, I asked, because I've had a lot of clean and layered cards lately. These are obviously all one layer, but this video, when did I finish this? I colored these probably about a week and a half ago. No, maybe just a week ago, because I think I colored them when I came back from the lake last weekend. So anyway, but after that, I just started making clean and layered cards like crazy, which is not typically my go-to. But I've been doing more die cutting and things like that, and I just think it's good to kind of like break out of what you normally do. I think it's good to challenge yourself. Here, so the coloring's done, I am going to add some dots to her, like the seashells up top, and then I'm going to use it to draw like little half circles for her, what are they, scales? I guess they would be scales, she's a mermaid. And then outline all of the images like normal. For this little girl, I'm just going to do like a very, very basic grass outside scene, which you guys have probably seen me do 100 times on this channel. So same thing, the sky will be done the same way as the first card, blending all those things out, and then the grass. Here, this did happen to me. So here I'm showing you the markers, and there was marker on the bottom of my marker. Do you see it? The little green spot it left? So now I got to go in and fix that, because I don't even know which one it was on. So normally I don't touch the markers down to the paper, but this time apparently I did, probably because I was drinking coffee at the same time. That's usually when I take my break to like drink my coffee. I wasn't able to get rid of all of it, but enough of it that I was okay with it. And I'm going to come back in with like the colorless blender and stuff later, you'll see. Anyway, so on Instagram, I had asked people, because I did the no line coloring roses, And that really is something that I struggle with, and it takes me a long time to do because this, the black outline is like my little, my little pal, my little buddy, my little security blanket. And so it's scary for me when it's not there. I get that. And so it just means that I have to take my time and be more careful going through so that I, remember those shadows and those highlights. So it's not just like a big blobby flower, because then I'm going to be unhappy with the way that my coloring looks. But one of the things that I asked was, what do you think is the most challenging thing for you in card making? Like, what is the style that, or the thing that makes you most apprehensive? Mine is no line coloring. That is, I think, for sure the thing that scares me the most. There's other styles out there that, like, I can appreciate that they're pretty, but they're not for me. Like the shabby chic was a thing for a long time. All the layers, all the layers, and I can appreciate that it's pretty or well put together or whatever, but that's just not my particular style. And even when I try, like, the snowman card that I did earlier this week, was it this weekend? It was this weekend. That one, like the navy background that I had, it was just too busy. I just couldn't do it. I was not feeling it. I can do busier backgrounds, but then typically I won't have a lot of images. I won't have a lot of other things going on. I usually just keep it to, a basic sentiment and some embellishments. That's just not for me. But I would like to know, just in general, what do you find the most challenging for yourself? Like, it's something you want to do. Like, I want to be able to no line color. It's just a little bit of a struggle for me to take the time to sit down and learn how to do it. And learning anything takes time. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're trying to figure out, whether it's a hobby or a job or a new sport or an instrument, like whatever it is, everything takes time to learn it. And so for me, I keep going back to it, even though I do sometimes struggle, because I figure if I keep just struggling through it, eventually I'll get comfortable with it. I'll get better at it. I will improve. And that there's no way for me to improve without continually doing it. And it was the same way when I first started Copic Coloring in general. I've told you guys before, I had them for years and I never used them. And I just had this gigantic waste of an investment sitting in my craft room collecting dust because I could never get a result that I liked. But then I forced myself to just keep using them. And now look at us. Look at here we are. So yeah, just keep trying those things. But I am very interested to see. The other thing I'm interested in to know is I am in talks with a store to teach an in-person class. You guys know that's something I've always wanted to do. I love meeting you guys and, teaching people in real life and being able to sit down with them and have a conversation and that relationship and, just being able to relate to people. And so I am in talks with the store to do that. Here's the thing, okay? I'm new at this. You guys, you know that. I have not put together my own class before. And I've thought about, offering something online as well. So that's something that I would like your input on. Would you be interested in taking, classes online? They wouldn't be like the YouTube videos, I don't think. I don't think it would be like story time. I think it would be people who genuinely wanted to learn the techniques. So, I mean, it would still be me and my personality and, my commentary, but it wouldn't be necessarily specific story time. And I know a lot of you are here for that and maybe not necessarily the instruction. So let me know what you think about that, about the, taking classes online. But for classes in person, I don't have a huge, enormous, I guess, like, Copic markers that I have built up over the years, or these are things that I would have to purchase in order to be able to teach a class of, 10 or 15 people, and for everybody to be able to have their own markers, or for everybody to be able to, maybe 2 people share a set kind of thing. It's not something that I have. So it would be something I would need to invest in, or the store suggested the option of putting together a product list and letting people bring in their own, which would be, it would make the class cheaper. It would make the class more affordable because it wouldn't have to cover the cost I'm incurring from purchasing all of these Copic markers. Which would you rather do? Would you rather have the products provided to you and pay a little bit more for the class? Or would you rather bring your markers with you and have the class be cheaper? I would like to know that. So here I'm just adding some shimmer. They're all pretty much done except for their sentiments. There's a little sneak peek of the one that we will be doing next week. Here, I just wanted to show you how I did this sentiment. The soon is a separate stamp. So I stamped the get, masked the well off because those are together, but they're far enough apart that it's not a big deal. You just want to make sure you clean the stamp really well in between. So here I stamped the top and the bottom so that I could make sure I would get the middle in the middle. And then I'm just going to ink up the well part of it and stamp that in the center. And then that's pretty much going to be that card. This one, the sentiment is from the same set. It just says a little something for you, which I just think is a good, just if you just want to say hi card kind of thing. And then this one I thought was super cute. It says hello love. And I used my marker to put in just a little comma there, she's talking to him or he's talking to her from the beach shore. And then this last card, like I said, will be in a different video. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.